Alright, a rare YouTube video, at least the long version. Yeah, this is Professor Anton, so I'll put it on YouTube. It's sort of an interesting subject. So context. Nick made a video to Matt, and so me, Matt, and Nick, in the beginnings of our YouTube here, had lots of conversation about brains and psychology and the nature of existence, and yeah, we all invested in each other, so to speak. We invested in sort of getting a real feel for each other because the conversations were so, I mean, you can't get more intimate than talking about what your brain is doing, in a sense, anyway. Yeah, and you know, those were really good video exchanges, really constructive in terms of what this medium should be producing and doesn't produce anymore. So that part's even regrettable. So there's a little lament tied to that history. And then Matt made his decision in life. He could have gone scientist or silly person, and he decided to go silly person, and has invested 5 years in preposterously eccentric, silly nonsense. I mean, you know, drawing pictures of gods on chalkboards that are made up out of stars and universes and galaxies. I mean, really silly shit. Anyway, it's hard to put this all in context. But anyway, so Nick made a video, basically just some sort of last shot. Like, you know, here's your last chance, Matt, to be a human being. You can be an asshole or you can be a human being. And someday you're going to realize, okay, you're going to know that being a human being is the only choice. It's the only rational, right thing to be as a human being. Being an asshole is a bad thing. And you're going to know that in the future. If you survive the future, you're going to know. You're going to realize it. You're going to say, shit, I wasted so much time being an asshole. And he's just giving you forewarning that that's what you're heading for. Okay? You've basically sailing your boat right for the fucking iceberg of realizing your life was wasted. You just threw it in the garbage. You threw it in the crapper. And he's just giving him an opportunity to see that in kind of a brutal way. You know, by just kind of stating it plainly. You're an asshole. And, okay, so yeah, is that a friendly thing to do? I think it's damn friendly. I think it's the obligation of anybody who really cares about somebody else, is to say what they really think. To be honest. Nothing wrong with that. Very good thing to do. Very appropriate thing to do. And I sort of saw it also as this is the only way that it could possibly work. The only way you can make an impact is that you have to make an impact. You have to actually dent the person. And then they'll work on the dent. And then they might realize what the fuck you're saying. But you have to do it. You got to do it all the way, or there's no point. There's no point in punching it. It's like karate. No point in punching the board if you're not going to go all the way. Because if you don't go all the way, you're just going to hurt yourself. You got to go all the way to break it, and to not do damage to yourself. That's the secret of the game. So yeah, good on Nick. So anyway, so now Professor Anton's a little butthurt because he got a little dig shot at him because, yeah, he's lived a completely wasted life, and someday he's going to look in the mirror and say, shit, I just lied to people for 40 years. Alright, just gave him a fucking placebo. I gave him cheap, crappy sugar pills that rotted their fucking goddamn brains. And that's what I did for my life. That's the sum total of my existence, is instead of motivating people to do something constructive in reality, I turned them into a bunch of dead, brain-dead, sugar-intoxicated sheeple for fantasy, for just fables and nonsense, chasing delusions rather than chasing some sort of realistic plan to kind of rein in the idea of human beings being efficient, my word, yeah, gaining some control over the mechanism. Instead, I turn them into fucking sheep to it. I pacified all the animals on Animal Farm, so they just accepted a new owner. They just accepted being stuck forever. Bravo. You gave the keys to the pigs. Anyway, so we'll play some of this shit.
So guilt, it's vaguely, dissipatively on the fringe. It's sort of just lurking in the backdrop. And it's this irritating sense of, again, of having to do something with one's life.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just so funny to call that some sort of negative force, that someone would feel an obligation to use the resources they have as effectively as possible would somehow be a negative thing. So his sort of argument is that somehow Nick is relieving his guilt by talking shit at Matt, which is just silly. In the first place, Nick is almost as impervious to guilt as I'd say any person on earth is, so that ain't gonna work at all. I mean, that's just complete nonsense. But I think Nick's just pointing out the reality that you can live through this life, you gain understanding, and the thing you're going to understand in the end is that your consciousness was just one consciousness, alright? Just one part per billion, per 7 billion. One part per 7 billion. That's what you are. You're not the mass, you're not the machine, you're not the mechanism at all, in any sense whatsoever, okay? So, I was listening to Khan Academy and some chemistry lecture, and they equated atoms to apples. So like an atom is to an apple what an apple is to the planet Earth. And that's what we are as individuals. We're the apple to the Earth in terms of our proportion, our relative part to play, our relative importance. And that the real bulk of the apples are out there, right now, experiencing. The real bulk of the apples are not even human. That's the reality. That's the reality Matt, okay, is going to realize someday. He's going to realize that the real game wasn't in his head. The real game is in the world and in all these other fucking heads. And talking shit to them, lying to them, telling them fucking bedtime stories is a goddamn waste. It's insanely wasteful of the capacity he has as a smart, well-ordered, well-structured mind. He's throwing it in the goddamn crapper. And you're fucking endorsing it. Because why? Because yes, you spent your life throwing brains in the crapper. You egomaniacal, insane fucker. Yeah, for what? For your ego gratification. So you can put your art on the walls and read your poetry and talk about your incomprehensible philosophers and have this pretension. You even have a pretentious goddamn fluffy dog and just pretend that you've done your job on Earth. Well, you haven't.
Irresponsible in some way for it, of the agony of being a self-conscious being who lives in the wake of decisions and choices made. And so
what's its implication here? Again, like you shouldn't agonize over it? It's kind of difficult, you know. It really is difficult to be somebody who jumps on the grenade. And this asshole is basically trying to talk people out of doing it. He's saying efficiency might require you. That's what it might mean. But that's the truth of it. That's the truth of the economy we're stuck in. This is the reality. And that you can't just live your life in isolation. You can't play this idiotic game that if you play some piano or something, it'll all be all right. Because it won't.
Often happens is what's called the song of the scapegoat in the cult of the kill. Yeah, that's what Burke calls it. Yeah, the song of the scapegoat in the cult of the kill. And so in this case, the older person, instead of grieving and trying to expiate their guilt by a mortification,
mortification? What does that even say? They should expiate their guilt by killing themselves? What does that even mean? No. They should do it by sitting there saying, well, what's the best thing I can do? Oh, that's right, maybe I'll tell the things that I see that have potential, not to throw their potential in the fucking garbage can. That might be a huge way to compensate for my failures to prevent somebody else from failing. If I learn a lesson in life and I become aged and I become knowledgeable of how the game is played, yeah, that maybe is the good thing for me to do, is to sit there and give my knowledge away for free and say, here, have a fucking bucket of it, shithead. And guess what? I'm going to fucking point it as a spear, because guess what? You're really not going to get it unless I can make it stick into your body and put little barbs on it so when you try to pull it out, it'll hurt more. You know, because I want it to work. Yeah, that's right. I actually want it to be effective. I want to impact you. So I might have to run you the fuck over a few times to make you really get it, that I have impacted you. Oh, God. I mean, should I tell little stories? I mean, can we all we'll turn everything into a goddamn life fable? If we thought of the people with potential, you know, the people that have a brain that can actually do some shit, if we thought of them as gods, would it be silly for the dumb peasants to once in a while tell the gods to get a little bit serious? You know, to take the fucking dresses off and, like, grow the fuck up and quit playing house. You know, if that's what the gods were doing. If the gods were just wasting time, you know, playing, whatever, patty cake or something, would it be okay if one of the dumb peasants once in a while said, God damn it, you're gods. What the fuck are you doing, you shitheads? You should be fixing this shit.
Dad will focally create a kind of narrative or a story or an account that symbolically places all the guilt upon another, and then they engage in some sort of symbolic slaying of that other.
Well, I don't even see where the hell that comes even into this. He's not piling a ton of guilt on him. He's basically just giving him fair warning. Okay? Fair warning that you have potential and it won't be realized the way you're thinking you're going to realize it. By, you know, creating a religion of the nipple. Where you might get you laid. I'm sure Matt will get laid this way because he'll come up with some kind of singularity theory that has to do with him chewing on some girl's nipples. Okay? I'm sure there'll be some kind of, he could even do some kind of wacky therapy of, you know, multi-dimensional life transitionalism. Okay? He can come up with some kind of wacky crap that'll get girls naked on his couch. But he's not going to help the fucking world with this bibble-babble. I mean, it's not going to fucking happen. He can do nothing but give out sugar pills.
They run the other out of town. They rip the other to shreds. They engage in some sort of purging of the guilt that they were able to at least momentarily manifest on this other.
Well, whatever. I mean, really, let's not even go this. This is just of fairly stating to somebody that you disappoint, that is fairly stating that you're disappointed, that you're irritated, that you're annoyed to see something valuable turn to shit. It's like seeing a beautiful woman in culottes. It's just fucking should be against the law. I mean, there should be a law against the waste. The fucking goddamn waste of it. And that's the point here, is that Nick is seeing the waste, and he's trying to tell the wastee, who he does sincerely care about, and that's the only reason why he would fucking goddamn do it, is that I don't want to see your beauty rudely destroyed by this idiotic, silly nonsense that you fucking goddamn decided to date.
And you see it. It's a common strategy among older people who, when they're looking in the mirror, realize that they've kind of wasted their lives. And
yeah, eureka. That's right. And that's it's sort of like their obligation now to say, shit, what was the missing ingredient? Oh, that's right. I didn't fucking understand the simple reality. The reality that life doesn't just happen here. This is 1/7 billionth of life on Earth. And that the future's even bigger than 7 billion. The future could be just hugely gigantic in its number. And this is just one cog in the wheel mechanism. And that all these cogs have, any cog that has potential to take out grinding and friction and crap and bullshit, has an obligation to get the best performance it can out of itself. And that obligation will be realized when it looks in the mirror and it says wasted potential. Because it can see that sometimes the potential is lost because of something that can't be prevented. Okay, sometimes we can't avoid the circumstance. Your farm your brother could have stole the family's money, and your parents could have gone bankrupt, and then you couldn't have gone to college, and your potential would have, well, it's hard to argue that because you just wasted your potential completely, so it's, you almost can't argue at this point. But the point is that, yeah, potential is lost all the time for hard reasons. And Matt's potential, it seems quite obvious. It seems that his potential is being lost for no good reason. Okay? For none. Because of an arbitrary choice based on no rational, sensible equation. A calling. He calls it his calling. To sell snake oil.
And they're bitter about their own lives, and they don't know what to do about it. It's too painful, and to just simply say, well, I've really wasted it. And so what they'll want to do is a couple of strategies.
Well, to say, well, of course, that's exactly what they're saying. And they're saying, I wasted it. How do I prevent it from being wasted again? What would have changed it for me? Oh, that's right. If some old fuck would have come up to me when I was 15 years old and said, you know, Sonny, this is what reality is. You're one part per 7 billion. All right? And guess what? You can be a positive effect in the world, or you can have your grave pissed on. These are your choices, fucker. All right? And I'm telling you, the thing you want to be is you want to be doing that teaching people the fish thing. You want to be doing something constructive in the goddamn world. Well, whatever. I don't know why he has a... Well, I won't even talk about his accent. But anyway, moving on.
Now, let's get at a couple of strategies. One of the first ones is to look out and to try to say, well, here are some people who had potential, and here are some people who didn't, and those people who had potential, they had more obligations to give. See, this is one of the first strategies of a scapegoating guilt.
Right. I mean, isn't this just amazing? How silly that you should recognize the thing that has more power to do something, you know, and invest in that. To invest in the thing that has more potential. So if you have like 2 methods of gene splicing to create a cure for a disease, and one method is incredibly limited and you know, just you can't do much with it, and it costs a huge amount of energy to produce the splicing, and the other one is like almost free. It has unlimited potential. It can be 3-dimensionalized and holographically, you know, zoomerized. Yeah, which one do you invest in? Duh. Which one can be more rudely and crudely destroyed? Which one is more precious? The precious. You can't understand that those are different things? Oh, no, of course you can't, because you're selling bullshit. And that's absolutely bullshit, not being able to make a distinction between people having obligations based on their capacity to do something. Their skill level.
Expiation. The idea that some people, they ought to really be trying to contribute, to give back to the world, to be making the world a better place by helping people. And
yeah, it's not about giving back to the world. It's just it's about the fucking practical fact that when you're a grown-up, you're going to figure out that this doesn't matter. This is 1 part in 7 billion. And that there's a sea of this stuff out there. And it's not about giving back, okay? It just isn't. It's about the practical fact of your functional efficiency. And what you don't want to do in the future is look in the mirror and say, holy fuck, did I ever waste a hell of a lot of that shit.
Other people, well, you know, they don't have as many obligations, because what could they really give anyway? See, this is one of the first ways it comes in. Now, related to that is the person may try to identify with some person who they perceive to have great potential. So, again, the old fogey who's bitter and sad over his own wasted life, and who...
Well, again, like I said, you could make that argument to me, maybe, but you're not going to make it to the modern mystics. So this is just this is just, again, you're just doing this psychology crap on the internet. And this part of it, I have to concede, this subject is all about psychology. Well, not really, because it is about what you're going to do when you grow up, what the word grow up really is going to mean here. And part of growing up is recognizing these certain structural realities of your existence. And that the only thing that's valuable about your existence is how you feel and how you make the world feel. And you're not going to make the world, you're not going to be doing any good medicine on earth if you're handing out toxic sugar pills. That's not good medicine, that's bad medicine.
Is in this, and again, I think it's really difficult for people who do subscribe to a kind of determinism, because the determinism is the lie that they're using to hide from this guilt that they're feeling. So,
wow, there's another little accusation. So whatever, your non-determinism made out of what? Random Gaia power, the sun knows better, and it communicates with the earth, and the earth communicates up through your feet and makes you do good instead of bad. It's what is controlling this non-determinism? What brilliant force? Oh, randomness is controlling it. Oh, gee, that's really super. Random is so smart. Chaos? Oh yeah, chaos is a cool word. Yes, chaos versus determinism. Oh yes, chaos. Let's go with chaos. I mean, this is just stupid. That's right. We're progressing. We're evolving. We're getting smarter. We're understanding better. And where is Matt going? He's going backward. Okay, hundreds of years backward, and trying to remake the bad concept of an idiotic God, a stupid placeholder variable that mankind created because it didn't know the real deal. So it put that, it didn't know the real number, so it put God because it didn't know what else to put in there because it didn't have enough facts. And now we have a ton of facts, and instead of dealing with the facts, Matt's saying, I just want to go back and rewrite the word God and call him snob instead. Or silly fuck.
they feel this guilt, this kind of anxiety over what did I do with my life, and then they hide from that with a kind of over reductive determinism. And again,
yeah, well, whatever. I'm just saying, if you could take the modern mystic's brain and put him in a 17-year-old, you'd have one kick-ass motherfucker, in my opinion. And I'd say likewise, if we could take mine and throw it somewhere, what I've learned in my life, okay, and just regress it, throw it back somewhere else, all right, it'd be one badass motherfucker. Fuck you and this bullshit. This is the truth of our circumstance, okay? If Matt doesn't want to take Nick's advice, it's fine. No one's going to put him in jail. No one's going to hit him with a real stick for it. Okay, it's just the fact that a guy who, does know some shit, and he's saying some stuff, and if you don't want to see the value in that life experience, well, don't see it. You don't have to. Matt has no obligation. He already did. He already just said, oh, you're just being an old duffer. I don't want to be a boring, silly old man. That's his put off. That's what he thinks it's about. He thinks it's about some old person who has nothing better to do with their time than tell some young kid that he's silly. Like somehow Nick would get off on that. And that's how Matt is so dishonest now that he can't even acknowledge the simple truth that he knows goddamn well that Nick wouldn't waste his time on anything like that if it didn't mean something. So again, this is just all bullshit. You want to turn into a cartoon? Turn into a cartoon because that's to your advantage. Okay, because you're the one who wants to escape the reality of the circumstance. And the reality of the circumstance is older people do know some shit. An older person extended his effort repeatedly in the past, ignored, and he made one last shot at throwing the spear of knowledge into the object and see if he could make it retain its dignity. And it'll either find its dignity or, yes, it'll become an asshole. Period. That's all.
You've seen the movie Naturalism Forward video. I'll see if I can put links to those as well.
Oh, super.
You'd see that as sort of mad dog determinism. That
super.
is not the determinism that's represented by contemporary science at all. But this,
yeah, whatever. Yeah, the contemporary science where they make shit up. Oh, okay, cool.
Is a sort of strategy that comes up to deal with the way that they're hiding from their own agency, their own remorse.
Yeah, whatever, their own agency, their own, no, they're just programs running in our head, and this is all part of what you'll understand with time. You're going to understand that. These are just programs that run in our heads, and we have selfish ones, we have ones that are completely our own psychotic neurology, obsessed with, whatever, nipple chewing, and then we have programs that have actual rational integrity. And what you want to have happen is the ones with rational integrity to win in the end. So anyway, gotta go.